Hello there, and thank you so much for joining us today right here on Transforming Families. My name is Faith Kaulu, and I am excited to have you on board because you know what? Each time we are here, this means that this is yet another opportunity to transform our families. And what better thing for the society other than transforming our families to become better, to become whole. And I am excited because today we are going to tackle a very, I'd say, important issue, intricate matter that has been ignored for a very long time. In the recent past, we've had cases of couples who are disagreeing come out in public on social media due to different reasons, and each time we enjoy these stories, maybe because out of gossip or out of just wanting to know what is happening. When kids are involved, we rarely ask ourselves, how are the kids doing? How is all this affecting them? And so today we want to specifically focus on children and children's rights. And to do this, I am gladly joined by Miss Valenshi Gole, who's a practicing family lawyer. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu, even for being willing to come, to share your knowledge, educate our viewers. I'm glad that we could have you. But even before we jump right into it, let me allow you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Faith. My name is Valenshi Gole. I am a lawyer by profession and a firm kick-out gender-based violence advocate. And it's a passion project for me because it's the children who end up suffering in homes where there's a lot of violence happening. So ideally, it's important to put out information out there to help us heal in the homesteads so that our children are also safe and protected, so the domino effect of violence does not continue to move in the future generations.
Mm-hmm. Very well put. I'd like us, even before we get into, couples disagreeing and even focusing on the child's welfare, let's first lay the foundation and begin with what does the Constitution put forward in terms of children's rights?
Well, there's Article 26 that talks about the right to life. Mm-hmm. And then Article 53 predominantly covers the rights of children, where children are supposed to be, and they are accorded the right to be in a homestead that is safe, a homestead that is clean, have basic needs of shelter, food, clothing. They have the right to education, the right to be protected from any form of violence or abuse of any kind.
I like that, the right to be protected from any form of abuse or violence, meaning that the home should be a safe space for the child.
Yes.
And I think this is something that most parents should think about, especially if you're having disagreements or issues with your spouse, which once in a while they occur. Don't do it in front of the child, because then what are you exposing them to? If you're being violent, throwing things around, ensure that your child is safe. Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about couples who want to go separate ways, because I'd like that to be our main focus in the first half. Mm-hmm. We've had issues on the rise, and especially now couples are going public and saying, I am no longer with my husband, so refer me as Miss so-and-so because I'm no longer Mrs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And most times we don't ask ourselves, how are the kids doing? Mm-hmm. As much as we want to dig deeper into the story, why did they break up and all that? Or even as spouses or couples are going through the whole process, it is very likely that they leave out the child because it is also a new thing for them. Mm-hmm. It is affecting them. And so let's begin with the whole divorce process. Mm-hmm. People who are married and they want to go separate ways and they're divorcing legally. Mm-hmm. What happens to the child?
Well, I can just give, if you'll allow me, a brief description on instances for the divorce. There are two instances where both parties consent to the divorce and there isn't much need for an extended hearing for that matter. And so they both get into an agreement and the judge issues the decree nisi and they agree to matters as to custody of the children, maintenance of the children, separation of matrimonial property, and etc. And so when it comes to an instance where now the entire hearing has occurred, now they've gone to court because they have issues of contention, and so their judge is going to issue orders and the decree nisi at the end, and also issue orders insofar as maintenance is concerned in favor of the children. So when the judge has already decided and the decree nisi has been issued, and the couple is now legally divorced,
Yes.
the custody is usually accorded depending on the agreement of both parties, both parents rather, and as instructed by the judge.
Right.
And children, it's also an interesting thing to note that children as well usually play a role insofar as custody is concerned. It's a role where the judge does have a sit down with the child and they ask them insofar where now an issue has arisen, for instance, during the hearing, that one parent has accused another of being a toxic parent. So it is one, and then the other says, no, it is false.
Yeah.
So they bring the child. And to avoid coercion of either party, the judge will sit with the child and ask them, how are you with mommy? How are you with daddy? What happens in the home? Who usually does what? Such instances to get the child to open up, because children are so innocent, and in them expressing themselves without the parent being present, it accords them an opportunity to speak the truth,
Yeah.
and uninterrupted by either parent. So the child, in event that it comes to light, that they reveal to the judge that one parent maybe is an alcoholic, or I see mommy hit daddy sometimes, or throw glasses at mommy, at daddy, or daddy usually comes drunk and then now he hits mommy, he hits me, stuff like that. Or there's some days where I don't see daddy for days on end and I don't know what's going on. I can't.
Yeah.
Such issues. And so the judge puts that into consideration as the orders are issued at the conclusion of the divorce, to know who is accorded custody. And another interesting thing also, insofar as custody is concerned, the age of the child, the judge usually considers it.
All right.
Because it's important. The children who are newly born to the ages of from the newly born to 7 years old, these are children who still need that motherly care. So most times you will see the custody being accorded to the mother because of the nurturing nature that mothers have. Something that fathers usually doesn't come natural to them, but we have also instances where the mother has passed away and the father has such custody and things like that. But back to the point is that in instances as that, the mother gets the custody, and then now there's the issue for maintenance.
All right.
Right.
You've mentioned something that, the child can speak and say, this is how I see mommy behave.
Right.
This is what daddy does. Could there be a specific age where now the child can really say, I want to be with daddy? As much as custody is concerned, I want to be with daddy because I don't like mommy, or because of this and this.
And that is the reason why we have a shared custody, that yes, this child will predominantly be living with either the father or the mother. So in that instance, the child is saying, I love daddy, to make sure that they have shared custody, that it is 50-50.
Okay.
That there are visitation rights of either parent, regardless of who the child predominantly lives with. So, for example, if the child has been ordered to be living with the mom, then the father can have the child over the weekends, or if it's 3 days of the week or 4 days of the week, that is also something that comes into consideration. Yes.
Okay. Take us through the whole process now. Custody has been granted, divorce has been legalized. So how how can I put it, the upkeep money, how is it reached upon?
Well, upon issuing of the decree nisi for divorce, the parents are now living in different homesteads and no longer legally married. So what happens is that there's a maintenance order and attachment to salary order, where the parent to which the judge has decreed there's an amount that is given for maintenance of the children.
Yeah.
So the parent to whom the order has been issued to will be required to provide that money. So when you say attachment to salary, it means that the salary of the parent, who's supposed to pay a certain amount for maintenance of the children, is attached and garnished for the purposes of maintenance of the child. And so there are instances where and the things that the court considers also insofar as maintenance is concerned, we also look at the basic needs. We've already talked about the Constitution issuing and also the Children's Act protecting the rights of the children. And so we have fees that need to be paid, we have food, we have maintaining that the rent is paid, the utilities, and all these details insofar as making sure the environment is conducive for the child. So the court considers also in issuing the maintenance the amounts that is required for that purpose. And so in event that the mother we live in an age where women are working mothers, and we live in an instance where some are home keepers, and so we look at the ability of the father. How much is he able to provide for the children? And then those are some of I won't get into such great detail, but the judge usually considers in giving the order for maintenance those aspects insofar as the salary and the provision of it. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure the child is comfortable.
The child is comfortable.
Yes.
As well as it is an amount that also considers the total income of the parent.
Yes.
You can't find that the amount is higher than what they earn.
Yes. Yes. And usually now, the child, it takes two people to make the child. So there's consideration that if the mother also is working, and it's also encouraged for women out there to find something to do. It's important. It helps the children. In event, especially when there are certain disagreements insofar as finances, when those issues arise. But so there's a need that there'll be an instance where the judge. There are so many aspects because every divorce is very unique.
Right.
The struggles in whatever relationship leading to the divorce is unique. So there are issues that the judge also considers depending on the specific divorce case.
Yeah.
And so it will ideally we know it's 50-50 because of the aspect that both parents are required to contribute to the maintenance. And in event that the father, most cases will find that the father is the chief provider, main provider, and his income is sufficient, then such garnishing for child support is also put into consideration for the sake of the children. Okay.
But then what happens if the order has been made? This is, we know you're supposed to bring this amount and this amount for, the well-being of the child, but then one parent doesn't live up to that.
Well, that is the reason why the Children's Court exists. The Children's Court is predominantly to protect the children, their welfare. And so in event that the person is not holding up their end of the agreement insofar as maintenance is concerned, then you can take them to the Children's Court insofar as maintenance is concerned. And ideally, it could get to a case where the amount is garnished, meaning a certain amount has to be deducted for the sake of the child support. So that's why the Children's Court exists. In event that you have been unable to amicably hold on your end of the agreement and your responsibility as a parent, then that's why the court exists. They're supposed to follow up and keep up the end of the agreement.
All right. I know there is a lot of questions in terms of the maintenance amount, because there has also been a lot of debate around it, women taking advantage of the guy's money. And you've mentioned that we're living in an era where women are empowered enough to earn a salary.
Right.
So if let's look at this amount, is it likely to change? Let's say right now I am earning a basic salary of 50,000 as the man. I'm supposed to give 20k, and I get a promotion, get a better job, my salary increases. Does the amount I'm supposed to pay as well goes up or remains the same?
We can have instances where both parties, and it's important, parents out there, in event that you've separated, if you've been in a relationship or if you've divorced, please, I urge you to think about, forget the pain or wanting to feel vengeful towards your former partner, towards your ex. Let's not use that as an excuse to be a deadbeat father or a irresponsible mother. Please, as a parent, it stops being about you. It's about the well-being of the child. So where as the child grows older, we know that the needs may increase. So parents, there are amicable ways, there are alternative dispute resolution methods where you are able to agree, come into an agreement, be cordial with each other for the sake of the children.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk about when one partner passes on. Is this child entitled to the part of inheritance, considering that they had divorced, but from the upkeep money that is coming in now, which will no longer be there since they have passed on? Is this child legally entitled to inheritance?
Yes. According to the succession laws in Kenya, the Succession Act provides that dependents are, so when let's say for example the man has passed away, there's only one parent left. So the father's assets, according once the succession process has been concluded, and now here it's interesting and it's important to note that there are two ways a person can die tested or intestate. And just to answer your question further, yes, the child has every right, and as a dependent of their deceased father, they're entitled to their assets. They're entitled to inheriting whatever the father had left behind in terms of assets. So when you die tested, that means you have prepared a will. And this is why I also like to encourage, reach out to a lawyer and let them draft a will for you. It is very uncertain. This life we live, it's very uncertain. And so when you have dependents, it's important that you get a will put in place. So when you are no longer there, your children are safe and provided for. And then now there are instances where a parent dies intestate. So where, for instance, the father has died intestate, it means that he has not left a surviving will behind. And so the court usually in succession law issues two. There's grant of probate and letters of administration. Letters of administration is when you have died intestate, and then grant of probate is when you've left behind a valid will.
All right.
Yes.
All right. It is very nice to know that.
Yes.
We've had recent cases where the baby daddy or the father, but who are now divorced, passes on, and a lot of chaos, as you've mentioned, that it is important to leave a will so that people can avoid conflict, family drama, and all that. And thank you for bringing that out very, very well. Even as we're speaking of the whole process of ensuring that you get support money, we've had cases where the guy now comes out and says, this is not my child. You want me to support someone who's not mine, because I'm now even doubting, since there are a lot of issues that will lead to a divorce. One of them could be cheating. So if this is an instance and the father now doubts that this paternity. Take us through that.
Well, in event that, and this is post-divorce, you said?
Yeah.
Well, if you die, now those are some of the issues that will arise during the trial, because the reason why divorce cases don't happen in open court is because of the sensitivity of the information. So when you, as a father, if you doubt, and you're undergoing a divorce right now, if you doubt that that is your child, we live in a time where technology is so advanced. Yes. And so you can get a DNA done, a paternity test will be done, and then you will be able to affirm that that is your child. But please, before that happens, let us not use that as an excuse to deadbeat.
Yeah.
Please, the children are innocent. They are deserving of love. So even in the event that during the marriage, yes, it may have happened that there was infidelity and the child is born, legally, according to family law, that is your responsibility. You're supposed to take care of them unless it is proven otherwise and post-divorce now. Now, you as the mother, you're supposed to find who the biological father is insofar as maintenance is concerned. But legally, in a marriage, you cannot use that as an excuse not to provide for the child. A child who is born in that wedlock is your responsibility as the father.
Yeah. Wow, affirmative, and I really like that. So the whole process of having a court case can be really, really tiresome, and it might even take a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and very draining. And that's for a fact. We've witnessed that. But in terms where a couple doesn't want to go through all that in order to get support, child support money from either the ex-husband, what other ways are there to ensure that you still get support? And maybe this person is not cooperating. Does it mean that court is the only way to get support?
Yes, and that's very interesting. You've mentioned it because I'd mentioned earlier, we can reach a place mentally where we put the needs of the child above our own. So since it did not work out between us, we can sit as adults and amicably decide that we will draft an agreement before even going to court, the children's court, that is.
Yeah.
Let us just sit down, have an agreement. So and someone may argue that yes, you wanna party it up around town, and you will misuse the money. Okay, how about as the father then? This is your child. You love your child. There's a certain amount for fee. There's a certain, the child has a basic need to food. Go and do the shopping. Let the shopping be dropped at the mother's house where the child is. Pay the fee if you feel it's that so pressed that you don't trust the mother of your child. Those are other alternative ways that you can make sure. Let's not look for excuses. Even the Bible tells us that God is not pleased with excuses. It will not be a thing that you can use to try and get away from your responsibilities. I urge you, put the care and the needs of your child above all else. Everything else becomes petty. Yes.
And I really like that point, and thank you so much for putting it across, because even if we go through court and all that, the kids will also be affected in one way or another because of the negative energy around you ill talking about your ex-partner. And it's also very key and very important that set that aside, say it didn't work out, so it's okay. Amicably come together, sit down, and have the best interest of your child at heart. Even as you're speaking of, sitting together and talking on how best to go forward, is it important to include the larger family in this? Because you could sit down and agree, okay, I'll be paying this amount of money, I'll be doing this and this, but things could go wrong, or there could come a time where I don't know, the in-laws would say something or cause chaos. So during this whole process, is it important to inform, the whole large family, your in-laws, your relatives, that this is what we have decided on?
Well, we are also sober to the fact that there are external factors insofar as family being concerned, especially when there's children involved in separation and all this. People always have something to say or a contribution, but for every man and for every woman, each has a mentor. So when you're with someone, also it's good to learn a person and know who their mentor is, the person they listen to. The way we have seniors that we listen to, that whose advice we take to heart. So you go to that person. This person is not keeping up their end of the agreement, and so you've decided to do this to settle it amicably, not involving the court. So approach this person and let them know, and also it's important also to know that when you're living your life, you and your children, it is none of other people's business. So when someone comes in and always seems to bring a sort of negative energy, think about your children and protecting them. Don't let them and their influences lure you into making decisions that are detrimental to your family. So go to this person and let them know that for instance, if it's the man, he is not keeping up his end of the bargain. Or if it's the woman, regardless of who it is, and they can be able to issue counseling. You know, there's interesting, there's this Nigerian proverb that goes like, what an old man sees.
Oh yeah.
Sitting
While
down, a
sitting.
young one cannot see. It is the experience and the wisdom that comes with age in such instances. So, and also we have people who've been married for a long time, 20 plus years, and they're going steady. These are people we should keep close to us as our mentors to give us words of wisdom, because we do not know it all. No human is a reservoir of knowledge.
For sure.
So do that, have a sit down. Again, and I can't emphasize this enough, keep the needs of the child above your own. Just let love reign.
Let love reign.
Yes.
I like that. Let love reign. May that be our takeout for this first part of the program. I really like how you've tried to make it simpler, to make it understandable for our audience, because matters court can be quite, I'd say, hard to understand, especially if you are not a lawyer. And even if someone has gone through the whole process and they tell you, it's also hard for you to really understand, because it's always tasking and draining, especially for people who are not in agreement with each other. So thank you so much. Above all, let love reign, dear viewer. Let's take a very short break, but do not go too far, because this discussion shall continue in a few. Jihadhari usije ukasahau, dial star 811 star 187 hash and select 2.
Losing a beloved one can be one of the hardest life experiences. Death brings a total change in many setups, the family taking a huge position. Death also provides an opportunity to celebrate the departed and their achievements on earth. CAC TV provides for you an opportunity to announce death and funeral at affordable fee. For more information, write to us, announcements@cactv.org, or you can call this number 0794 588 054.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it right here. I told you today we are only matters children welfare, because we want them to grow up in a loving environment and to know what love really is from both parents, no matter their circumstance. And we focused much on divorce and people who are married on the first segment of our program, and I want us now to look at, you know, people who are dating in a relationship, in a friendly relationship, and it happened that they had a child out of that, not quite married, because we have a lot of cases of come we stay, you know, let's see if it will work out, we don't know where we are, what we're doing, but then a child happens. And I want us to also talk about that. And most people, when they part, especially if not in good terms, the mother tends to deny the father custody, because, you know, this is my child.
Grudges,
Yes, and they have grudges, and they're bitter because you cheated or you left me and all that. So in such an instance where the father cannot see the child, cannot support the child, is there a way that he can be granted access to the child?
Women, let us be, I understand we are human beings. No one is perfect. Our emotions can get the better of us. We feel jilted, we feel cheated, we feel hurt. So let's circle back, and I can't emphasize this enough. The child comes first. You love that child. So love them before you love your anger towards the father of your child. So soften your hearts to want to get over the pain and the betrayal of your separation from your significant other, now your ex, and think about, how will I best serve my child moving forward?
Yeah.
So don't use that as an excuse to deny the father, unless the father has been extremely toxic. They batter your child. This is very unfortunate, Faith, because we have instances where some fathers deal with their children so treacherously. Those who even rape their own children.
Yeah.
Those who even beat their own children. Unless it's a toxic environment, there's no need to deny the needs of your children. And that's why it's important the court system exists. The judiciary exists. The children's court exists. So that in event that you cannot amicably mediate or use other alternative dispute resolution processes, such as mediation, for instance, then that's why you can take your issues to the court.
Right.
And the court is in place to help bring solutions insofar as that is concerned.
So it is no excuse for a man to say that, the mother
Definitely
doesn't want me to see the child. For 10 years on, you can go to court and be granted access.
As the father, it is your right.
All right.
It is your paternal right to see your child, to be an instrumental person in their development, in their growth.
Yeah.
Because in event that a parent is not deceased, there's no need for us to use bitterness. Let us heal, ladies and gentlemen. Let us heal for the sake of the children. It hurts, yes, but put that aside.
Okay.
Let us be adults. I think the difference between us the difference between you as the parent and the child is that you have the mental capacity to make decisions that a child's brain developmental hasn't reached there yet.
Yes.
So let us also learn to heal and grow and not use separation from each other, breaking up as an excuse. No, the child needs to be protected. They need their father in their life, especially male children. You'll see instances where there are cases men say, I didn't grow up with my father in my life. And it is not because the instances where the father just wants to be an absentee father, they want to deadbeat, but because the woman has kept the child away.
Yeah.
And then these people grow up and become adults. There are cases where people are dealing with issues and mental health, especially. For the mental health welfare of the child, please let the child be able to have access to their parents. Grant the parents, either parent, access to the child, because there are instances also where the father has custody, the child is living with the father and not the mother, because their mother has some toxic traits, like that alcoholic, they abuse drugs, they are abusive towards the children in such instances. So also, unless the mother is toxic, don't run away, because also the Children's Act does provide for kidnapping. If you take the child away from a surviving parent without any court orders in place, then you are kidnapping the child, and it is actually illegal. It's not lawful to do that. Other than the morality aspect of it, wanting all of us to cohesively live in peace for the sake of the children, and that they both have days in the day to spend with their parents. Co-parenting is nothing new. It is something we can do regardless of whether a person has moved on or not.
For the best interest of the child.
Yes, thank you.
Let's use the instance you've given where the father has full custody of the child. I want us to mention this because of, the view in the society. Could then the father file for, upkeep money and support?
Against the mother?
Yes.
In event that it is unorthodox, I know. Because society, being Africans, we know the man is the predominant provider, and even as Christians, we see the biblical obligation of that. But in event that we have instances where a man can lose his job, and the woman has businesses or has work, and they earn a sufficient amount, women, tusikuwe ati kwamba tunataka sana ile kukatalia kubania pesa, huu ni mtoto wako, wewe ndiye ulimbeba miezi 9. So the love that you have for your child needs to supersede the vindictiveness of saying my money is my money. No. We love our children. We want our children to grow and develop into functioning people in society. So in such an instance, where the father has proven, this is saying that it's in the court now, custody has been proven from the children's court, has been accorded to the father in the children's court, then the same issues will arise during trial.
Nice.
And in event that it's something, you can move the court under petition and under certificate of urgency, and say that circumstances have changed, and so we need fresh orders insofar as maintenance. In event that they cannot amicably sit down and say, I will hold down the fort insofar as fees are concerned, insofar as rent, utilities, food, and all these other essentials of the child's welfare is concerned. In the event that you can't amicably agree on that, then yes, again, the courts are there for that. And then fresh orders are granted to that effect.
Okay. I really wanted us to tackle that because, you know, the society has viewed and portrayed the man as the provider. So you're asking for help when you're not man enough to provide for your child. So do not feel embarrassed. Do not shy away. If you want to ask for help, ask for help.
Yes.
Whether male or female, ask for help. And that's something we could really talk about in all areas, but let's focus on the child right now and look at here's a court case going on. What are some of the do's and don'ts during that period? You know, a court case is going on where custody should be granted, child support, maybe a partner is seeking for child support. What are some of the do's and don'ts? Maybe, for example, could you have then a media interview or, things like that?
No. You cannot, before the conclusion of a trial, talk about the details of said trial when it's still ongoing.
Okay.
It is not allowed for you to do that until it's concluded. But then also I'd mentioned earlier, remember that issues to do with divorce, issues to do with the family and matters, children, custody and maintenance, they do not happen in open court because of the sensitivity of it. So you may, we live in a digital time where people don't even want to go on social media and go live and start saying, my baby daddy this or my baby mama this and the mother of my child, the father of my child, this and that. Restraint, ladies and gentlemen. You're a father, you're a mother. Restraint is important. Let us not let our emotions get away from us. Yes. So you do not discuss details of an ongoing trial or case.
In case of such an instance, what could be the possible outcome?
Well, I mean, it just brings a lot of controversy. So let us, my thing is just to give the solution. Refrain from doing that.
All right.
Because you will bring other further consequences to your detriment later on.
All right. Now, here is a court process. Parents are in court, you know, for trial because of custody and everything else we are talking about today. And then suddenly one passes away. Then what then becomes of the case? What then becomes of the outcome? Also, as you answer that, I'd like you to touch on if, let's say, you're seeking for support money and the dad passes away, you as the mother of the child, are you legally at a point where you could seek for support from the extended family, let's say their mother or siblings?
Well, we know that parental responsibility is innate, like as the father. So in instances where the father is deceased, and you can reach out to either a sibling or, and I think this is the beauty about humanity. We actually have human beings who are so compassionate towards each other. They see a mother struggling because all of us are immortal. There's death is something that is a finality for all of us, and it is not something we can foresee. But in event that happens and one parent is deceased, then if you can reach out to friends and family and ask them, don't shy away from it, and if someone is in a position to help, they will help you out. Don't shy away from it, but it is not a legal obligation. As the surviving parent, it is upon you to find all means of employment. If it's opening a business or if it's finding employment I want to use the word hustle hard for the needs of your children. But in event that you get to a point where you need help, don't hesitate to reach out, especially if the deceased family and whatever assets they've left behind were not sufficient according to the inheritance the children have been able to benefit. The beneficiaries being the children have gotten from the estate of the deceased as their parent. You can reach out to and naturally grandparents love their children. So if there's a surviving grandmother or father, they will, most people naturally gravitate towards wanting to help.
Sure.
But it is not a legal obligation. It's important to emphasize that.
Yes.
They are not entitled to get support from the grandparent or grandparents, but you can respectfully approach them. Let us also not be too combative, because you've asked for help and they've not done it. There's a way you can respectfully, allow me to mention, there's a parable in the Bible. It talks about prayer, that this widow went to the corrupt judge over and over again until he wasn't a good man, but he gave her the prayers. And it's the same way. So the more you keep seeking someone for help, the more their heart may soften towards you, no matter how they're not much of a good person in your opinion. They will want to help. So you can keep asking for help. And it is not that you're entitled to such help, but it has a result later on to where a person, if they're in a position to help, they will want to come forth and assist you.
All right. Here is a child who's, let's say 19, 20. So the parents are still together, but a lot of chaos happens in the family. There's a video circulating online about a mother uttering very abusive words to the father, and the kids are there. So in such a situation as the child, you realize that this is a toxic environment for me. This is affecting my studies. It's affecting, my social world. It's affecting you in several areas as the child. What steps are there for the child to take to ensure that they are in a safe environment?
Insofar as an abusive mom or dad?
Yes.
We all know that as children, a person, unless it's those instances where a mother, now you're using the example of that specific video where the mother is the abuser of the child. As a father, if the mother has a sister, or the parent is surviving, or someone they look up to, you can reach out to them and say, let's have a sit down. This is why I like to emphasize on sitting down and agreeing on things, because children are the ones who end up suffering. So you see, it's so obvious the mental health of that woman was not at a good place. And it's the reason why it's so important for us to work on our mental health. Your husband out there, you keep treating your wife treacherously. We do not know the circumstances. It is not an excuse that woman treated that child, especially it being a child who is still a toddler. They are not in a position to even speak for themselves or even run away to someone and say, Mommy has done this and this to me. So as the father, in that instance, you also need to look within yourself and ask yourself, how can I better help restore the mental health of this woman, so that she may not end up abusing the child, or even as a woman and you find yourself abusing your child because of various things you're going through. It's important to focus. If you need to talk to someone, there's so many counseling avenues. Find counseling, so that these children grow up again. It's their constitutional and legal right that they grow up in environments that are protected, environments that are safe for them, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So in such instances, then the solution is just as that. Focus on mental health. Heal. I will not emphasize enough. Heal. No matter what the father of your child has done to you in your wedlock, in your relationship, let us not take it out on the children. It is not an excuse. And men, don't deal treacherously with the mother of your children. This woman went through labor pains to bring your child into this world. So let the disrespect not be on a regular basis. Try your best to deal with each other with respect. Respect is something that is given for free. There is no amount of money that is charged for it. So ultimately, let us just all work on healing mentally. If there's need to speak to someone, speak to someone, reach out. There are churches that issue counseling. Join a church. And some people may say I'm an atheist and all that, but until you have gone through a process, the churches are open to anyone. You may be an atheist and you're going through something, find a church, go speak to a pastor. Some of them are counselors, and they may issue you they may give you a perspective that you didn't have. Healing is so important. For when you heal as a parent, your child is in an environment that is safe, that is also going to propel their well-being forward.
It's more of you only pour out what is within you.
Exactly.
If your
out of the
heart-
abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak.
Yes.
And your actions shall be. You will only bear fruits of what is inside you. So we go through a lot of things, Faith, in life. We go through betrayals and all that, but it's a progressive process, slowly, but it is a finishing end, a finishing line that can be reached, where you get to a place mentally where you are able to learn how to better deal with your anger, how to better deal, so that you do not abuse your children. Yes.
All right. As we're speaking of, allow me to take us back to custody.
Yes.
So custody has been granted to, let's say, the mother, which is it is the case. In most cases, rather, that's the situation or the outcome. So what actions may lead to custody being withdrawn?
Insofar, all right.
Yeah.
Again, the courts exist so that in event that you feel we remember the Children's Act and the Constitution say that the well-being of the child is very important. And I mentioned that children are a class that is jealously provided by court, by law. So you may petition the court, you make an application to the court and the agency that you feel the needs of this child are not being met, the welfare of this child, the child is in danger. Then even before that, then you can also go to the police. The police also help, and also we have our chiefs. We say hapo mtaani. We have our chiefs also who are also instrumental in a lot of helping to mediate a lot of issues that happen. So you go to the police and say this child is in danger, and depending, there may be cases that there are aspects that most times the police will say haya ni mambo ya kifamilia, jaribu ni kwenda kotini ama mjaribu settle it on your own. But if a child is in danger, they are criminal. And in the event that there's proof that the child is criminally being abused in any form or fashion, yes, you can get charges filed as against the abuser of the child, if it's whichever parent it is. But also for custody, you go to the children's court and make sure that you file a case seeking custody to be taken away, because under whatever circumstances, as you've said, if the circumstances changed, that is also because ultimately we aim to protect the needs of the child more than anything else.
There's something really important. I think we should have started with that. Here's a court case ongoing. You mentioned that the child at some point will need to speak to the judge. So before even all that, before probably filing the case, should the parent who's taking that step to file the case, I'd say talk to the child, inform them of what is going on in order to either prepare them or ensure that whatever outcome, they are okay and well prepared for that?
Well, that's a good point. Insofar as children are concerned, when you are initiating proceedings to separate for divorce, you can sit down, but then there are children who still don't understand, but then you can talk to them that is your child, you know them the best, in a language they'll understand. That in as much as daddy and mommy are going to lead to separate, just understand that we love you so much, both of us, and come up with ways to amicably, again, I say the court processes are usually tasking on the children. So if you can put your differences aside and actually agree together to always be there for your children, regardless of whether the divorce decree has been issued or not, you can sit down with the children and both of you as their parents and let them know that we are no longer going to live in the same household anymore because of circumstance. Don't give them details, obviously. Wisdom is very important to maintain, because we have instances where parents want to turn a child against the other parent, giving them details. Children don't have the mental capacity that adults have to understand issues. So just please avoid giving them details. It ends up traumatizing them. They end up hating their parent over issues that both of you can deal with, issues that have nothing to do with them. They need to grow. They need to go to school. They need to be healthy. They need to have sort of like their medical needs met and all that. So that is, they let them worry about how they're going to go to school tomorrow and what they're going to say to the teacher and which friend they're going to sit with during break time. Do not burden your children with adult issues, and do not turn your child against the other and turn them to hate their parent for no reason. Let the father be able to be instrumental in the child. So sit the child down and say, even though mom and dad are going away, our love for you will not change, and come up with a process where both you can still be able to visit the child and all that. Yes.
Even as we're coming to a conclusion, I really like the fact that you are a lawyer, but as well as you're wearing the cape of, being a guardian and wanting the best for children, for all children in each and every family. So speak to people out there who are staying in abusive families. You mentioned earlier that you are against gender-based violence, and you're advocating for, bring an end to that. So speak to mothers who are staying in marriages which are abusive physically because of the welfare of the child. I want them to know rather that does the child no good. So speak to parents in such situations, as well as give your final words.
Right. Thank you, Faith. So just as a parting shot, I am very passionate about children, I said, and I have a project called the Kick Out Gender-Based Violence Project. So I advocate a lot against gender-based violence, against children, predominantly against women and men. We have instances where men also are being abused. We have, other than even extreme cases, and it's very unfortunate, of femicide, and even the women murdering the men. The domino effect there is that one parent is deceased and you are going to be sentenced to death or spend the rest of your life in prison. You leave your child orphaned. And the domino effect is that the child will be traumatized. The child will be labeled. There will be a stigma against them. Let us, before we even do insult or even get to a point where we assault each other, there are mechanisms of anger management. If you know you are a person with a short fuse, find help. Look for ways. We live in a time, even if you feel shy to speak to a person, then go online. Go look for a YouTube video. How can I contain my anger? How can I better stop myself from doing things that are or rather from assaulting someone or insulting someone, to control your anger. And other than even just those mechanisms where you can, for anger management, women, if you're in an abusive relationship, I'm sorry that you're going through it and you're feeling like you don't deserve it. No one deserves to be in a relationship. Even as a man, if your wife or your partner is abusive towards you, it is not normal. It is not a thing that you deserve to go through. So in a household where children are, think about their well-being. It is better for you to separate for a while, in the event that you don't feel like you are there to divorce. Separate for a while for the sake of the children. It is better for a child to grow in separate households than to grow in an environment that is toxic, where they feel and they see and witness and hear the verbal abuse of either parent or the physical abuse of either parent. It is not normal. It is not okay. Seek the help you need. We have organizations in place that are instrumental in helping such cases. We have like Usikimie, we have FIDA, right? We have COVAL for women. So let us find the help we need. It is not normal. Msivumilie mateso kwamba ni mapenzi. Mapenzi si mateso. Mapenzi ni kupendana. Protecting each other. So let us be keen to work on ourselves, to work on our mental health. We are living during the COVID times. Such uncertainty insofar as income, such uncertainty. We are all locked up in the house together for long instances, or even sometimes before even the lockdown was issued, the schools were also closed for an extensive. So people were spending so much time together. Let us work on our mental health. Let us heal so that we can also let out the light. Get rid of the darkness inside. So let us love each other. As I mentioned earlier, let love reign. And let us love our children more than we love ourselves.
All right, thank you so much for that. My takeout today definitely is let love reign. And dear viewer, I hope in every situation, in any circumstance that you're caught in, because life is uncertain for sure, always let love reign and ensure that you have the best interest of your child at heart. Asante sana, Miss Velin. But with that said, I think time is not on our side. So thank you so much for today's episode.
You're welcome.
Dear viewer, ensure that you share this video so that a lot of people may get to understand what we've talked about, may get to be informed and educated, as well as let's keep transforming our families by ensuring that love reigns in each and every situation.
Absolutely.
My name is Faith Kaulu. Thank you so much for joining us today. Till next time, keep watching CAC TV. Bye.